You do exhibit quite a few signs that would suggest you're on the autism spectrum. I knew it. So some of the things we tested for are how you respond to social cues, body language, things like that. So I bet I did pretty good. No, you did terribly. What? You said I'm autistic? Yes, you were very confident. I'm confused. Very common misconception. Do you remember when I told you about an argument my partner and I were having that morning? No, not really. Yeah, you changed the subject pretty quick, which suggests that it was a little too personal for you, where someone that's autistic would have likely reciprocated with a similar anecdote. I barely knew you. At one point I told you my mother was in the hospital, and you gave me a hug. And I said everything happens for a reason. I remember that one. Yeah, empty superlatives. What? An autistic person would have likely responded with a similar anecdote about grief, and almost certainly would not have initiated physical contact without asking. But you needed a hug. No, not for me, but don't feel bad about it. It's common for aulistics to struggle with emotional support. You give hugs to people that are sad. This, though, you actually did initiate a number of conversations on your own. Yeah? Somehow pulling subjects out of thin air. You actually tested in the top 96% of conversation starters for people your age. That's awesome. Not a super useful skill for employment. I'd suggest looking at sales, party planning, maybe those little table topic cards. You're going to need the help of others to keep your attention, otherwise you're going to struggle to stay on task. Okay. As I mentioned, though, very confident with nonverbal cues. That's right. But you only seem to interpret them correctly around 50% of the time. You're quick to brush off moments where it probably would have been more appropriate to ask for clarification. It's so cumbersome. Yeah, aulistics are known for preferring smoothness over clarity. But I did want to mention some of the takeaways from the scenarios you and I talked about. Like what? So, aulistics have a much higher sensitivity towards authority figures. What does that mean? So when you were asked how much you'd be willing to donate to charity if asked by a cashier, you were significantly more generous than if you received a charity mailer. But they're watching you. Sure, and our autistic participants tend to answer the opposite. Charity mailer would give them time to do research to figure out how well the charity is actually utilizing the funds. Didn't even know you could do that. Don't beat yourself up. There are plenty of people that lead successful lives with autism. Do I need to take medicine, or, what do I do? This is going to be really difficult for your autistic partner, so I've given you a list of online support groups for them to look into. Okay, but what do I do? Sure, we have a number of resources available to your autistic partner to help learn how to handle you. Me? What about me? Another common autistic trait, being focused on yourself. I was saying you need to be very patient with your autistic partner because it's going to be pretty stressful for them to learn how to handle you. I'd like to give back somehow, maybe spread awareness or help advance the understanding of autism. Do you know any studies or anything that I can get involved in? Heavens no. You're in no place to figure out what's going on up there, and we have plenty of autistics looking into autism.